What is going on, guys? It's your boy ShadyMikeGaming. Welcome to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. Also, real quick, wanted to let you guys know I'm going to be streaming tonight our next signature jump shot on the channel. Looking at the poll, pretty it's Monday when I'm recording this, but it looks like it's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so we'll be knocking him out on stream. We mostly usually just end up arguing about basketball topics, so we don't always get a lot done on the jump shot, but I always try to, just at least show what we're going for. So if you do disagree with anything that, I said in this video, stop by the stream and we can discuss it further. Want to let you guys know, follow me on all of my social networks at ShadyMikeGaming. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. And yeah, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. So today, guys, I just wanted to give you a quick channel update. I'm working hard on, getting these signature shots out to you guys. I do have a modding showcase dropping tomorrow. There haven't been like an influx of mods dropping, so I've been waiting for them to pile up. So we're going to have a modding showcase tomorrow. It's technically going to be modding Wednesday instead of modding Monday. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be pretty lit. And I'm saying tomorrow, it's Monday now, but when you see this, it's going to be Tuesday. So tomorrow we'll have that video out for you guys. But yeah, we're just going to talk some basketball. So far, the playoffs and how they're going. And this video is actually kind of funny for me to make because it's been such like a hilarious week. Number one, like I've been getting I haven't been like super active on YouTube or like social media and stuff, so been getting like a lot of DMs like he's hiding, the Sixers lost, he had him in the finals and he's hiding. Like, no guys, like I've been working nonstop, like my job's been crazy, so like I've just been really busy. Like if you follow me on Twitter, like I'm on there and I'm like upset about the Sixers and stuff like that, but it's like not that big a deal. But one other thing too I really wanted to talk about was it's like I didn't, and like you guys gotta understand, like I'm a small YouTuber. Like if you're watching me, I'm sure you watch YouTubers like, Chris Smooth and Dom and like, guys with like 300K subs. So sometimes I don't understand or I haven't like really understood yet the weight of my words. So it's like when I'm making like predictions for the playoffs and like what's going to happen, and like people like legitimately get mad about like my predictions. Like he was talking trash on my team. He was talking trash on the Heat. He was talking trash on the Knicks. And I understand most of these guys are 9 times out of 10, the ones that are getting really triggered, they're like kids, like 14-year-old kids. And so like, I don't really pay it any mind. I'm just talking, like being honest about what I think is going to happen in the playoffs. And people are like super triggered. Cause like when the Sixers lost, like my phone just started blowing up, like Twitter DMs, Instagram DMs, Discord DMs. The Sixers lost. I'm like, yeah, they lost. They're like, see, I'm so happy they lost because you said my team was going to lose. And in my head, I'm like, but your team did lose, right? And so it's like, like a lot of people like low key, like coming at me, like even in like negative ways, like, F you, Shady, the Sixers lost. And I was like, oh, I think you're a little bit more upset than I am, because one thing you'll notice, like, we all obviously always go over the top with our predictions and things like that, but I'm a Sixers fan. I'm a Philadelphia sports fan. If you've been under a rock for the past 10 years, things tend to not work well for us. We understand to not get too high and don't get too low, because when things are going well, as a Philadelphia sports fan, you're thinking, yeah, something's going to happen to mess this crap up. It's just how things work here. So, I said it all year, if we stay healthy or this or that, the other, because, 9 times out of 10, it's Philly. Something stupid is going to happen, whether it's Fultz forgetting how to shoot, Ben Simmons having a mental breakdown in the playoffs, Embiid going down, Danny Green going down. It's the Sixers. Like, we lose a lot. Like, I get it. Like, you know what I mean? So it wasn't as big a, I think people thought I was going to be like angrier than I actually was. Like you guys saw me, like, put the little video of me throwing my Sixers hat in the trash, and that's fun and all that good stuff. But, it kind of is what it is. And we'll be back hopefully next year, and we'll see what the team does in terms of changes. But the way I wanted to format this video, I watch Colin Cowherd a lot. If you don't know who he is, as a commentator on TV, and he does this segment. It's called "Where Colin Was Right and Where Colin Was Wrong," because I wanted to kind of format this video like that, because I said a lot this year, like in terms of predictions and, my straight up Sixers homer fan stuff aside, I was actually spot on a lot of stuff. So I want to, basically go back and let's take a look and have a conversation about some of the stuff that we predicted. and what I was right about and what I was wrong about. And then obviously we're going to talk about what's going to happen in the rest of the playoffs and try and predict it from here. Now I'll say this too. I'm also, again, if I was a big YouTuber, I would have an editor that could go back and find the clips of me saying all these things. I'm not a big YouTuber and I got one day off this week. So you guys are just going to have to believe I said this stuff. And if you don't, that's a you problem. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to rehash some of my thoughts on some of these playoff series. I'm going to try and go in order of the things that of the way that they occurred. So we'll start with that. So I want to talk about the first thing that going into the playoffs I was right about. Now, it's Russell Westbrook, or the person I call Statsbrook. I know people call him Westbrick or West Goat if you love him, but I call him Statsbrook because I always said that his game is more focused on getting stats and winning. And a couple years back, I had made a comment. I said, hey, it's 30 teams. I said, if I'm trying to win a playoff game, I would take any of the 29 starting point guards over Russell Westbrook if I'm trying to win a basketball game in the playoffs. And obviously you get crazy backlash for the stuff like that. You guys know me. I don't care. Like, I say what's on my mind. So, a lot of the comments were, oh, he's really going to give the Sixers trouble and this, that, and the other. I'm like, nope. I said, Westbrook has played with a lot of great players, had a lot of help. When you talk about Harden, you talk about Durant, obviously now Beal, I was like, that style, it just doesn't translate well. That high usage, that overall, I just straight up call it stat padding. It is what it is. It just doesn't translate to the playoffs. And we saw that this year. The Wizards got curb stomped by the Sixers realistically. Westbrook had a lot of bad shooting nights. He wasn't really a factor in any of those games. And unfortunately, the most memorable thing from his playoff performance this year was a fan throwing popcorn out on him, which was completely inappropriate if you ask me. But that was the first thing I said. Like, when the Wizards started not getting hot, but when it was clear that they were headed towards the playoffs, I was like, I don't even think twice about this team, because I just don't see what Westbrook is going to do. Beal has no help. Just didn't like the team in general and the way it was constructed. One area that I was wrong, and we're going to start it off with what was one of the craziest playoff series so far. I was wrong about the Dallas Mavericks. I had them going very far in the playoffs. And I was wrong about their supporting cast. Now, I had no idea Luka was going to take the step that he took. And if you had told me Luka Doncic was going to play at the level that he played at and the Mavericks would lose, I'd be like, well, how the heck did they lose? I had no idea. Kristaps Porzingis, I'll be honest, I consider myself more than a casual fan, but I admit I haven't watched a lot of Mavericks this year. I thought Porzingis was better than that. I remember him from his Knicks days. We thought he was a phenom. KD nicknamed him the elephant, the unicorn. You know what I mean? And you find yourself saying, "Whoa, where did that guy go?" Because what we're seeing now is just a timid 7'3" jump shooting guy that doesn't hit the boards, and that's not a recipe for winning basketball. So you have Porzingis, who's a shell of himself. We've been saying this for years. When is Tim Hardaway, from the Knicks, when is he finally going to take that next step? And he did have some flashes and some moments, but it just wasn't enough. We knew. You started to see with the Clippers where it's like, okay, maybe they're not going to be able to stop Luka, but if they can contain that supporting cast, and they weren't great. The Clippers found a way to beat those guys. And I really thought the Mavericks were going to have a much longer run than they did. But it kind of is what it is. And that's how it ended. Where I was right, and this is the one, actually, this is like the most important one on the video. This could have been two sections, but I changed it to one. I was right about both the Knicks and the Heat. So we're going to start with the Heat first, actually. You guys know they had just been to the finals from the bubble. I don't even count that. I just, Mickey Mouse tournament, I thought that was just a complete joke, not a representation of NBA basketball. Sorry, Knicks fans. Sorry, Lakers fans. So at the very beginning of the season, people were saying, yo, watch the Heat. They're going straight back to the finals. Tyler Hero's going to pop off, Duncan Robinson, all those guys, Dragic, and, Bam Adebayo, of course. And I was like, no, I don't actually like that team at all. I was like, I really don't like the Heat. I think Tyler Hero, I don't like Tyler Hero. And I said the number one thing, they don't have a superstar. Are you kidding me? Jimmy Butler, this, that, and the other. I said, no. Jimmy, I was very critical on Jimmy Butler. I said Jimmy Butler could not win. You cannot win a title with Jimmy Butler as the best player on the team. And so the immediate reaction to those statements was, you're an angry Sixers fan who is just mad that Jimmy Butler left. And I was like, wow, no, not really. Actually, I was like, I like Jimmy. I like, it would have been cool if he stayed, but I wasn't even like mad when he left. It made sense that he left because you can't have him and Ben, two guys that can't shoot on and want to handle the ball on the court at the same time. I said it actually made perfect sense that he left. There was no like, I still like Jimmy. He's like one of my favorite players. So it was like, there's no animosity there. I'm just saying like, that's not going to work with him, being the best player on your team. I mean, obviously, you got Oladipo and he went out immediately. So it just didn't feel like they had the firepower. And, you hear when they're going to trade for Kyle Lowry, but they don't want to give up Tyler Hero. I was just like, ooh, I just don't see the Knicks in any way, shape, or form as contenders outside of the bubble. And obviously that ended up being true with the way that they lost earlier, first round sweep. Then you get to the Knicks, and this was the one where like people were getting mad at me saying it because, hey, we have Knicks fans. I haven't seen a Knicks fan in years, but we have Knicks fans again. And it was crazy because, again, just me doing general critique once they started to surge, I'll say, late season surge. Obviously, the emergence of Julius Randle, and I like Julius Randle, but he's definitely not the best player on the championship team, probably not even the second best player. And I just didn't understand what and I felt like this was still, the season was a nice building block for the Knicks. But when I started talking about Julius Randle, I was just like, his game is kind of unique. And I said, I don't know how you build a winning team around Julius Randle from here after the loss to the Hawks. They got beat pretty handily by the Hawks. And I don't feel like, believe it or not, the Knicks have an overly bright future. I don't feel that way. You have Julius Randle, who, okay, now is your quote unquote best player. And I think he's an all-star. I think he could make the all-star team again, but that team got torn apart. His game got exposed in the playoffs. I just don't, like I said, I don't understand how you build around Julius Randle. You have RJ Barrett, who, for all intents and purposes, is a bust. He's nowhere near the fall off from Zion to RJ Barrett. And I'm a Duke fan, so I love RJ, but the fall off is, let's say, greater than anticipated. So if you're the Knicks, I know you got some nice minutes out of quickly. Obviously D Rose is in the situation. Is he still going to be there? But you have Randle, and that's it. Like, I just don't know how I feel about the construction of that team, and they got work to do. And the question is, are they going to be able to attract free agents? The mystique of the Knicks is not a thing anymore. They're just the Knicks. My generation has no respect for the Knicks. I've never seen the Knicks do anything good other than those couple 50-win seasons they had with Melo. So a lot of people were like triggered by me saying that, and I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. That was just an honest interpretation of what I was seeing from the team. It wasn't like to rip the Knicks. I don't really care about the Knicks. I don't feel any way one way or the other about them. Just didn't feel like they had the brightest future. And I felt like they really got exposed in the playoffs. And when you talk about the team that exposed them, and we're going to talk about where I was wrong again, was the Hawks. Just in general, that Hawks team has an amount of offensive firepower that's alarming, I guess. And, obviously we saw them beat the brakes off the Sixers multiple times with deep, long runs late in games due to prolific scoring from guys that I didn't really know could score the way they could, but I should have known. Bogdanovich was a baller in Sacramento. Gallinari was a baller even for the Clippers. For the Thunder, Gallinari is a phenomenal scorer, and he has been for quite some time. And then obviously all of that is driven by Trae Young. Kevin Huerter is a really good player. And, I lived in Atlanta for a year, so I got to see these guys up close. I never thought that they could turn into what they turned into under Coach Nate McMillan. They had the second best record since the All-Star break. Once they made that trade, I think, or I'm sorry, once they made the coaching change. So Nate McMillan has that team playing fantastic, and I think a lot of it has to do with Trae Young. Now, I think the number one thing that hurt Trae Young early was the Steph Curry comparisons. He's not Steph Curry. It's not even his game. He's not even a big-time shooter. He penetrates and he passes very well out of penetration. It's deadly and it's almost unstoppable because they have athletic bigs who just roll. They're not overly talented. John Collins is talented. He's very talented. He can do it all. But Capella's not overly talented. He's going to clean the glass and he can roll with Trae so that they can get those easy lobs. The way that team is constructed, where you have penetrating pitch, a bunch of shooters and athletic bigs, they are built like a new age modern team, and that's why you saw them curb stomp a Sixers team who didn't have perimeter shooting, who's based around a big man as if it was the 80s. So I did not see the Hawks having the success that they had this year. It completely caught me, and obviously my Sixers, off guard. So shout out to Atlanta. They're killing it, and they're going to give the Bucks a run for their money, but it'll be tough for them to beat the Bucks. We'll say that. Then where I was right, obviously this was a big one, but the Lakers. I didn't see the Lakers as championship contenders. My original prediction was, and this was the big statement, I said on stream, I said, I promise you guys today, factually, I promise you, I said the Nets and Lakers will not be in the finals. And when I said that, chat, I don't have a big stream, but chat started going crazy. Oh, blah, blah, Laker hater, blah, blah, you're just a Sixers homer. I'm like, I promise. And the reason I promised was simple, because I didn't think they could do it last year, in the bubble, simply because the reason they did it was because it was the bubble. They didn't have to rely on AD staying healthy. We know that LeBron James's championship runs have been heavily influenced by the star power around him. Yes, LeBron has had great statistical runs. We talk about, was that 2015 when Iguodala won the Finals MVP? That was a great run. 2015. And then, what was it, 2017, where he had another great statistical run and they ended up losing to KD. But LeBron's finals wins come when he is supported by another superstar, Kyrie, Wade, Bosh, Anthony Davis. That's where he's at his best. And I just personally, if I'm a betting man, I was going to bet that AD was not going to stay healthy through the playoffs. That was just my bet. Obviously, I was right about it. We knew I would be. I knew I would be. And it's just one of those things where it's hard to debate sometimes with Laker fans. They're a massive fan base. 8 out of 10 of them are casual fans. Not one of them hasn't been a Laker fan for long because they're mostly just a LeBron fan. And then obviously you have the one like hardcore Laker fan that says, no, you're right. Some of the critiques you made were legit. You weren't just being a Laker hater or a LeBron hater, whatever people call you these days. It's like, all I was hearing was Lakers at 5. Lakers at 5 was like, no, that team is not constructed to win. Andre Drummond does not fit this team. So, that's where I kind of just had to keep it real. I was right about the Lakers, was right about, Brooklyn not being able to stay healthy through the playoffs. The one thing I told you guys on stream was Brooklyn's not going to win because of the quote unquote flip the switch mentality. You cannot sit games out. You cannot, pick and choose when you're going to play, then get to the playoffs and go full throttle and think everything's going to work. It never does, never has. I knew the Nets weren't going to be, where they, we're in a situation to win a chip. Now, fun fact, the reason was I picked the Sixers to come out the East, but the crazy thing is, and I don't think I'll be able to find the clip, not only did I say the Nets were not going to make it out of the East, because people were saying, do you think the Sixers are going to beat the Nets? I said, no, the Sixers aren't even going to play the Nets. They're going to lose before they get to the Sixers. And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, the Sixers also got knocked out. So that's, obviously where that happened. Another area where I was wrong, when you took a look at the Clippers, I really thought the Clippers, if they could beat Dallas, they were the team that I was going to say, hey, I think it could be a Clippers Sixers finals. Does not look like it's going to be the case. I really thought Kawhi was going to be healthy. I thought they had rested enough going into the playoffs. It's just I do not believe that they can beat Phoenix without Kawhi. Now, we haven't heard about Kawhi. We don't know if Kawhi is coming back. They had an incredible series versus Dallas, and Ty Lue deserves a lot of credit for the adjustments that they made. But, that kind of is what it is. Going back to where I was right, and this is an important one too. I want to talk about the NBA award winners. We're going to talk about the MVP of the league, the Mickey Mouse MVP, and we're going to talk about the Mickey Mouse Defensive Player of the Year. So the Mickey Mouse MVP obviously was Jokic. The Mickey Mouse Defensive Player of the Year was Gobert. It's very well known, anyone that follows me, I did not feel like either of those guys deserved those awards. I was very vocal about that. And so when I picked the Nuggets and the Jazz to fail in the playoffs, people didn't believe that I'd be able to bring my bias away from my picks. But I was, because when I make picks, I don't pick from my heart unless I'm talking Sixers. When I'm talking to other teams, just looking at what I see. There was no possible way that Nuggets offense was going to work in the playoffs. I said it all year, and everyone just said, well, you're just mad because Jokic is going to win the MVP. So you cannot run an offense in the playoffs based strictly around cutting and basically rotations. I'm not going to get all X's and O's, on a podcast type of video, but I just felt like the offense was way too centered around Jokic. And this was before Murray went down. And when Murray went down, that was a piece of cake. Now, look, a lot of people are going to say, hey, if Murray hadn't went down, they were going here, they were going there. I just did not agree. I thought there were a lot of teams that could just counter that style much better with significant perimeter threats. When you think about Booker, when you think about Donovan Mitchell, when you think about Paul George, I just didn't see them being able to stop or rather match significant offensive firepower with that system based around Jokic. It is what it is. I was right about it. You guys can say it was just me hating on Jokic. I think I just called that from the beginning of the year when they started getting hot. When you talk about the Jazz and their loss, I just thought that was common sense. When you look at Gobert, he's just a complete liability on the court. And his lack of versatility on the see, I was one of the only people that called out Rudy Gobert for his lack of versatility on the defensive end, and I got murdered for it. All these nerds on Twitter started bringing up his defensive box per minute, PER, bunch of nerd stats that don't matter. I told you guys, he's just a rim protector. I said they should rename the Defensive Player of the Year award the Rim Protector of the Year award, because that's all he is, and he doesn't give you much else outside of that. They were able to use his flaws against him, and that's why the Jazz got beat. I at the beginning of the year, I compared the Jazz to that 60-win Hawks team that got murdered by LeBron. I said that team on offense is a joke. Like, they're going to do ball movement, but I said when things get tough, they're going to rely too much on Donovan Mitchell. And I just don't know if he's at that point in his career yet, even though obviously he had some phenomenal games, don't get me wrong. But I do feel like the early anointment of Donovan Mitchell as the next D-Wade and Devin Booker as the next Kobe, I'm not going to lie, I do feel like it's a little bit premature, but it is what it is. Obviously, the Suns are trending in the right way, so you never know. The Suns could win it all, and they're in a good spot to potentially win it all. So that was my takes on the Jazz and the Nuggets. I was 100% right about them. People wrote me off because they were saying I was being a Sixers hater because I thought Embiid was the MVP. I thought Ben Simmons was the Defensive Player of the Year. I think those picks look a little bit more apparent now, when the Nuggets went down the way that they did and we went out the way that we went out. But I think in our loss, the point is we still saw Ben Simmons was the most versatile defender in the league. And I just personally, in my opinion, the best defender in the league. Doesn't change the fact that he sucks and he can't play the offensive side of the ball. That's not what the award is about. And then obviously Embiid, averaging 30 plus, and I think he was averaged 31 and 13 for the playoffs. I'm on a torn meniscus. It just is what it is. It is who he is. So I thought he was the MVP of the league. Thought he was the most dominant player in the league, and I thought that was proved in our series, in all of our series versus the Wizards and the Hawks. So But where I was wrong, we're going to go to the Sixers. I said I had the Sixers coming out the East. I thought that they were a team that could compete. And the number one thing, I thought they could compete for a title, and I was very wrong about that. I reserved myself to say that I felt like it was okay that Ben Simmons wasn't scoring. I thought we were okay that Ben Simmons was just focused on defense. He could focus on pushing the break and setting guys up, and not work on his offensive game, because I thought Embiid and Harris could pick up the slack. I was wrong about that because Tobias Harris, he's just not a max player. No matter how much we say he sometimes looks like he is, he's not a max player. Ben Simmons is not a max player. He's a defensive stopper, and you can't on a successful championship team be paying max dollars to 17 to 19 point per game guy. That's all he does. He doesn't defend. He doesn't rebound particularly well. And Tobias Harris, and then just a straight up defensive stopper in Ben Simmons, a point guard who shoots sub 35% from the free throw line. You can't win with that. I don't really have much negative to say about Embiid. He had a lot of turnovers, but that just comes from him understanding the situation. He just didn't have help. We just didn't have a team. The team was nowhere near as good as I said it was, and nowhere near as good as I thought it was. And obviously, they weren't as good as they thought they were. So the Sixers have a lot of thinking to do going forward. I was very wrong about the team. I was very wrong about where I thought they could go. And I jokingly, anyone that follows me on the social medias, shameless plug on Twitter at ShadyMikeGaming, I said, it's a good thing we lost to the Hawks, because we would have got destroyed by the Bucks, and maybe the franchise wouldn't have felt the need to make changes because we made the Eastern Conference Finals. But I said, if we can't stop Kevin Huerter and we can't score on Trae Young and Kevin Huerter, how are you going to score on Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton? And then I'd throw Giannis in the mix. So we're not good enough. And, that's just a tough pill to swallow. But it is the reality of the situation. Still love my Sixers. I think we'll be back. Hopefully we're back with CJ McCollum or Malcolm Brogdon over Ben Simmons. A couple trade targets that I would think to look for the Sixers. But maybe D'Angelo Russell, if Minnesota would be willing to part with him. But I said at this point, trading Ben Simmons is a cap dump. You're not getting Beal for him. You're not getting Zach LaVine for him. You sure weren't getting Harden for him. The rest of the world has TVs too, right? They saw everything that we saw. And Ben Simmons just fell apart mentally. He was afraid to play. He was afraid to shoot. And ultimately, he hurt our team. But not, he hurt the team a lot. Doc Rivers hurt the team a lot with mind-boggling rotations. He went 10, 11 players deep in a game 7. Sometimes I felt like he didn't know what he wanted to do. Ben Simmons wasn't good enough. Doc Rivers wasn't good enough. Tobias Harris wasn't good enough, and nothing else really matters. We know we got swept last year. Embiid can't win by himself. His averages haven't changed. They actually got better. He went from 30 and 10 to 31 and 11, or 31 and 13 this year. So Embiid, he did everything he could, played like the best player in the league, the most dominant force in the league. And he was that and is that. And that's not changing, hopefully this year or the next. But big men don't have long windows. And so the Sixers need to do their best to capitalize on Embiid's window while they can. So that's one area. Obviously, people know that I was severely wrong. So that was where I was right and where I was wrong. I was right about Westbrook. Statsbrook. I was right about the Knicks. I was right about the Heat. I was right about the Lakers and A. Disney. I was right about the Jazz. I was right about Jokic and the Nuggets. I was wrong about the Mavericks supporting cast and just their overall success. I was wrong about the Hawks and their, just how good I thought they couldn't be. They're way better than I thought they were. Shout out to them. I was wrong about the Clippers. I thought they'd be way better than they were. And obviously I was clearly wrong about everything I said about the Sixers this year. I don't know. It doesn't bother me to admit that. It's just basketball, right? Sucks as a fan of the team, but you got to own that type of stuff. So I'm going to end it just by saying we got 4 teams left. Can the Hawks beat the Bucks? I think it's tricky. I think if the Hawks can scheme their way into something special, this could be a special Cinderella type run for the Hawks if they can beat the Bucks. I think that's what it's going to take, them scheming their way around Giannis, to stop Giannis, to disrupt Middleton, and hope Drew doesn't get hot. They could possibly pull off an upset, or the Bucks could just sweep them, right? Like it's really going to be hit or miss. I think. I don't think, you know what I mean. I think it's going to be hit or miss. When you go back over to the West, it's hard. I don't think we haven't heard an update on Kawhi, but I just don't think the Clippers can beat the Suns without Kawhi. They're too deep. They're just so deep. With Ayton and Booker, and CP3 is going to be coming back from COVID protocols. They got Bridges off the bench. It's just too much. It's just way too much to ask that Clippers team to match up against that Suns team. You never know, but I feel very confident in the Suns in that series. So, guys, that is it. Shady Mike Gaming, like I said, tonight we're going to be streaming on Twitch. We're going to be working on our next signature jump shot. I wish I could do more of them. I'm so busy, and I appreciate all the support, because the support on the channel has been crazy. So I really appreciate everyone helping me out, liking the videos and subscribing and all that. That's really cool for a small YouTuber like me who focuses on the details. So I really appreciate it. It just goes to show me that you guys care, and that it does mean something to me. Also wanted to just say that we are going to be picking up some more modding content. I know people are like, "Oh, you fell off modding." I'm like, not really. It's just like the mods are not coming out as often as they were in the past, but I have some really good heat to show you guys in the modding community, that subscribe for that type of content. I think you're really going to enjoy what we bring tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on the NBA playoffs. It's been an awesome season. I'm going to be sad when everything ends. I love watching basketball. I'm happy I don't have to watch the Sixers anymore. We're going to see what happens between the Hawks and the Bucks. We're going to see what happens between the Suns and the Clippers. This is such a weird collection of teams. I think it's refreshing. I think I like the way the playoffs played out. And yeah, I'm just excited to have a finals and see exactly how things turn out. But guys, Shady Mike Gaming, let me know if you did watch or listen to the whole video, podcast style. Don't do these often, but I every now and again want to just clear my head, get the chance to talk to you guys. And like I said, if you guys want to discuss anything we talked about today in the video, stop by the stream later tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/ShadyMikeGaming. But other than that, guys, this is Shady Mike. I am signing out. Peace. Threes.